Alright, we've got already an awesome select component that is full of useful and cool features like multi-selection, searching and many others. However, currently the component is missing a big part that allows it to work as a regular form control. In most cases, you will be using this component as a part of the form or as a standalone form control. And if it is the case, then most probably you would import some type of Angular forms in your component or module like reactive forms. Then the select value property would be converted to the instance of the form control model, which will have a type of selected value of type user. And this array of users would be eventually the value of this form control instance. Good. And as you already know, in order to bind the control model with the element, we have to use the directive called form control and apply it like that. And let's remove also the disabled state because we are going to control it from the form control model as well. So here we go. But obviously the attempt to run this code will fail because there is no value accessor implemented for this component, and this is something we are going to fix in this and the following video. But before we start, I just wanted to mention that if you for whatever reason skipped the course section dedicated to value accessor in Angular forms, I would highly recommend you to check it out first, because in this video I will not be stopping too much on the things we have already learned. So let's move forward, and the first thing we have to do is to provide an ngValue accessor token and assign this component instance as a value for the token. And of course, we should not forget to make this provider a multi-provider by setting up the corresponding property. After that, if you remember, we have to implement the required methods. And to make sure we implemented all of them and we did it properly, we have to implement the control value accessor interface, which requires us to create form methods, and let's allow the VS Code to do it for us. So here you can see the implemented methods, and let's remove so far this error throwing. And it is already enough to get rid of the runtime error we had before, but unfortunately it is not enough to make our select component properly work. At least you can see that our value from the form control model was not synchronized with the component. So let's fix this issue in the first place. So when the synchronization from the model to the view happens, then the write value method is called. So here we get the form control value we defined right here. So it means that here we can get something of type select value of type t. And inside the method body, we should assign this new value to the selection model class. Basically, we want to perform the same logic we do inside the value setter right here. But of course, I don't want to repeat myself and copy this whole code, but rather I will extract this everything into the separate private method, which I will call, let's say, setup value. And then let's maybe move this method to other private methods. So I'm going to place it somewhere here below. Here we go. And then I just have to call this method again inside the write value method when the form control model changes its value. And by the way, the model value can be changed many times during the form control lifetime, right? So if the new value arrives, then most probably we would need to re-highlight selected options, right? So let's call also highlight selected options method one more time when the new value was set up. And you know what? I think I made a small mistake before and forgot to call this method also when the input value changes. Because when the value input changes, we also have to re-highlight the selection options, right? So yeah, let's fix it, and yeah, sorry about that. And now we can go to the browser and make sure that the value from the form control has been synchronized with the select component. Great. Now we have to synchronize the value another way around. When the user picks any option, the form control model has to be updated as well. So since we use the component as a form control, we would probably remove the listener for the selection changes here. Of course, you can continue to use this event listener if you want, but if you use some reactive patterns, then most probably you would like to subscribe to value changes observable of the form control model and react to changes accordingly right here. However, when we go to the browser, we will not see any changes emitted because the form control model doesn't know when exactly the select component value changes, and we have to obviously fix that. So let's go back and let's jump to the select component source code. As you remember, to perform the synchronization from the view to the model, we have to call the callback function provided by the register on change method. So let's create a dedicated property where we will be storing this function. So it's going to be a function that takes a new value as an argument and it returns just void. And by default, it is going to be some noob function. Noob function means that it does nothing. And then I just have to assign the onChange callback function to this property, and then I have to call it every time the user changes the value. It happens in 3 cases. When we call the handle selection method, so let's go and call it right here. And also when the value is cleared up, right? So let's find this method as well and paste this line also here. And the last place where we have to notify the model is when the property value changes, right? So let's do it here as well. And now if we go to the browser, you can see that the synchronization from the view to the model works fine, and the value was propagated to the value changes stream and it was logged to the browser console. By the way, you can also see that the control statuses were also successfully updated. So the select element got this nice green border, which means that this control is dirty and it is valid. Okay, it looks like this video becomes quite long, so let's maybe make a quick break and proceed with implementation in the next video.